Tell me when you're ready, Mike. You ready? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll bring our meeting to order, if you will. At the time, please take your cell phones and turn it to the silent position, if you will. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. City Clerk, would you call the roll of the City Council?
The Honorable Mayor Pro Tem Alex Heath.
Present.
Honorable Linda J. Davis.
Present.
The Honorable Samantha Hudson. The Honorable Hattie Portis Jones.
Present.
The Honorable Ulysses J. Smallwood, absent. And the Honorable James Whitmore.
Present.
Okay. At this time, Mr. City Administrator, we go straight. You announced the first item, City Clerk.
The City of Fairburn Charter Review presentation from the City Administrator's Office.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We are excited to have with us this evening the staff from the Carl Vinson Institute of Government, who we have contracted with to perform our charter review. Ms. Lori Brill has been leading that effort along with several team members, including Ms. Lacey Lane Smith, Belle Tolmich, and Rex Facer. But I will turn it over to Ms. Brill and allow her to present their presentation.
Hello, I think we met all of you, but this is Macy Lane, and I'm Lori Brill, and we are from the Carl Vinson Institute. I work in the local government unit there. I work a lot on charters, ordinances, feasibility studies, those sort of things. I would like to introduce my boss, the unit manager, Rex Facer, and he can give you a little introduction if you want to yourself, or just want to wave. I'll just wave. Okay. Just a little background on myself. I've been in state and local government for about 25 years. I've worked with a large metro county law department. I've been with the Secretary of State, the Legislative Council's office. I have done my own consulting, and I've also been at the Carl Vinson Institute. So I have a lot of background in it, and I'm very eager to discuss this with you this evening. So Macy, if we could get started. And I must say, I put that on there because I love your logo. It's fantastic. It's really colorful, pretty. Okay. So basically today I'm just going to do a general overview of local government authority and structure. It's not very detailed. I didn't want to get into the nitty-gritty with you, but of course, if you ever have any questions, Tony has my information. You're more than welcome. I just ask that you funnel them through Tony because it's just easier that it all goes through him and then comes to us since he's our point of contact. So in Georgia, generally, there's strong mayor council, weak mayor council, and council manager. And currently, there are 537 cities in Georgia. Not this past session, but the session before, 2 were taken off the books and 1 was added. The one that was added was Mulberry, and that's in Gwinnett. I'm sure you've all heard about it in the local news. And the 2 that were taken off, one was, I think it was Ranger and Sunny, don't remember the name. Sunnyside, thank you. Sunnyside. I really appreciate that, thank you. I forget them sometimes. Pardon? Oh, okay. So basically, when they're taken off the rolls, it's because each municipality has to offer at least 3 services. And if you don't, you're taken off the rolls. You could contract for them, you could do them yourselves, it could be through their service delivery strategy, but you have to offer 3. You could offer sanitation, parks, and police, or one of the others, but there have to be at least 3. And generally what happens is a lot of cities just let it slide, and then the legislature will take it up. You know, because it's really small, so they sort of dissolve, and the legislature will take it up and dissolve the charter, and they're no longer incorporated, so. Thank you. Now, these figures are from the Georgia Municipal Association. I will tell you they are not exact numbers. I noticed a few that I'll just say I had a few that I thought might be in a different category. But generally, there are 222 strong mayor, 145 weak, 8 consolidated governments, and 140 of the council manager. It does not add up to 537, I don't believe. I don't know why their numbers don't add up, but I think it might have been self-reporting and not everybody reported. But generally, you get an idea of the different forms of government across the state. So what is a strong mayor council? I'm sure you all are already familiar with this. But generally, the mayor acts as an executive, kind of like a CEO. They make appointments a lot of times, and they don't do every single one of these. It could be a combination, but generally they'll make appointments. They could prepare the budget through their manager or administrator. They manage daily operations. They generally have veto power. So there are a few other things. It depends on each situation. You have to look at it as a whole. But generally, if you see these things, they are a strong mayor. And the weak mayor is generally just a ceremonial role, essentially. They don't have veto power. All the executive power lies with the council. Generally, he or she would have no control over hiring or firing. So I don't want to say this, but it's kind of like a kissing baby type of ceremonial role, generally is how they look at it. So this does, again, show, you can see it up here, correct? Yeah, it shows, like I just said, generally the powers of what they would have under each. Like I said, the weak mayor is subordinate to the council, and in a strong mayor, it's what you would think of as a CEO, which we do have in one county here in Georgia. So I'm sure we all know that DeKalb County is the one county within the state that has a CEO form of government, and that is due to Manuel Maloof and his powers. So you could go ahead, Macy. And the council manager is generally a form of government in which the structure, they prepare the budget. They have a lot of power, of the executive power that's generally, the mayor would not be involved, and it's funneled through the council. So, oh, I'm sorry, I can wait. If you need it. I don't want to keep going. And sometimes they're directly elected, sometimes they're not. And with the weak mayor, I will say that sometimes the mayor is not elected. They're appointed by the council. It just depends on the situation. So, and the manager will do what a strong mayor would do. He's going to hire and fire. He's going to be in charge of day-to-day operations, he or she. They're going to do the budget. I mean, that's sort of structure. So I'm not so sure how if you're familiar with city charters overall. Essentially, the best way to describe it would be that a city charter would be your constitution. That's the easiest way to describe it. And basically, it outlines legislative, executive, judicial. If you have you would have a municipal court where the powers are vested. It can have general, and we'll go over this in a second, general sections, maybe financial department information in there. So, keep going. Thank you. So I did a little breakout of, and this is just general. This doesn't necessarily mean every charter, but usually they have these 5 things in them. They could have more. It could be expanded. But at the bare minimum, it would have this. The incorporation of powers, it will list out just the town's power generally. It won't get into specifics about which powers they have. It'll set forth the boundaries. A lot of times in the charters, they will have the boundary within the body of the charter itself. I always recommend that you put it in an appendix, because then you don't have to go and amend the charter every time you expand your boundaries. Or maybe if somebody de-annexes, you don't have to go back, you would just have to change the appendix. Now, the government form and structure, it'll set up what would be the council as the legislative branch. If there's a mayor, which is in this case, they would set up the executive branch. And it would set out, like I said, the powers, procedures, and how it is all organized. But I will say also in the incorporation of powers, there are 40 some odd powers that you could have. And that's generally how it's done in charters. It will say, these are examples of powers. So it'll list them. It might be sanitation, like I said. It could be parks. It could be something to do with health. It could be your water, sewer, whatever it is. It lists what your possible powers can be. And a lot of times they do that so that when you go in and out, you don't have to go back and amend it. It's there as an example of power, and you can just exercise that power if you choose to. Can you go back for a second? Thank you. And the administrative affairs, that will include, if you have a city attorney, it's usually laid out there, a city clerk, any personnel information, the administration of personnel, that's usually in the administrative affairs section. Now you can go. Like I said, the judicial branch will set up the municipal court. Is your municipal court located here, or is it in this building? Yes, so you're very familiar with. Over at the other one? Okay, so you're familiar with that. Another really important section usually of charters is elections and removals. I will tell you that the legislature, it's just been there for a long time. It's kind of a disservice to lawyers and the public because the elections law is very confusing. I used to say, I was an election attorney for a while, and there were triple negatives in it, and it would take hours to figure out what they were saying. The thing I find the most important about elections in a charter is vacancies. How do you fill vacancies if one comes? You know, there have been times where people have stepped down, whether it was not here, I'm not saying that, but you know, if there's a death, if there's sickness, if somebody has to step down for any other reason, you're going to have to fill that vacancy, and you have to be prepared for it. Like I said, I worked at a large county attorney's office, and there was a vacancy pretty high up, and so somebody had to fill that position, but then what happened to that position? Are the people being represented? Is it temporary? Is it one that's going to be more than 6 months? I mean, these are things that should be in there so that you know how to address it if it comes up. Finance, your taxes, your fees, which I know you all know the difference between those, borrowing, accounting, budgeting, basically anything, well, procurement doesn't, but things that fall under your finance department, or, you know, it could be property management, that sort of thing. And then the general provisions, a lot of time bonds is in the general provisions, and anything else that kind of doesn't fit anywhere else. That's how that section goes. But like I said, this is just the bare minimum. Usually there could be, I've worked with charters that were 150 pages. They just had everything in there. I've worked with some that were 16. It just depends on what best suits your jurisdiction. And that's very important, you know, to think about that, because everybody, it's different in every jurisdiction, and you want it tailored to how you do things around here. So amending charters is interesting. Some things you have to go to the General Assembly for. Form of government, if you change that, you cannot do that locally. Election or appointment of elected officials, or their continuance in office, you have to go to the legislature for that. Jurisdictions of the court, you have to go to the legislature for that. Methods of taxation, there's what was the other one that I wanted to tell you about? Because this isn't an exhaustive list. So there are a bunch of things, there are about maybe if you listen a crime, you can't define a criminal offense differently than how they do under the state. You know, if a misdemeanor is committed, they have to go to municipal court. It can only be up to a $1,000 fine and 6 months in jail. So basically, if the state has acted in that area, they will preempt you. And you have to be careful because if those things have to go to, like I said, have to go to the legislature, and usually what happens is it will go to a local delegation first, and they will review it. Then they will see if they agree with what you said. They don't have to. If you put forth a charter, they can do whatever they want. And then they will drop the bill to the legislature, and then the legislature, again, they could change it on the floor. You know how the legislature is. You're never guaranteed what they're going to do. So then it will go through that. And just so that you know, when charters are put forth during the legislative session, they are not subject to crossover day. So I think I can't remember which day it is, but it's not subject to crossover day. It is after that. So you wouldn't have to worry if it didn't pass over by that time. So home rule, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with home rule or not. I think you are, because I saw a lot of amendments by home rule. So I see heads shaking. I won't go into it too much, but basically you can adopt reasonable ordinances and regulations for your area, things that you would not be general. It would be specific to your area, such as property, affairs, what else? Salaries of people within the structure of the government, retirements, pensions. I'm trying to think what else. Any benefits that you would give to your employees. That's all home rule. And I have, so that's it. And then the hospital benefits, yes. You could put that through. So this was very interesting. I've been looking at your charter. At this point, I am basically just doing updates to make sure that the charter comports with state law and kind of modernizing the language, because there's a lot of things in there that are some of it's as far back as 1925. So generally, I'm trying to get it into shape for you so that I can present it to Mr. Phillips and he can present it to you. But this is very interesting because your charter was passed in 1925 originally. It has never been repealed in its entirety. So you have language in there from 1925. Since 1925, and this will show you, I'm sorry, I'm pointing up here. There have been 20 amendments. Parts of the 1925, like I said, they're intact today in there. So those are things you need to look at. A lot of times there's language that we no longer use that are in charters. And that's when I speak to modernizing, that's what I'm talking about, is bringing it up to date.
Right.
And what is our role when we're helping you? So essentially, we will have cadence meetings. We will do any data or any analysis that would need to be done in order to determine how the charter should be rewritten. Meetings, we facilitate meetings, data collection, basically anything that would help the Fairburn to determine how the charter needs to be written. So, and it is not a legal role. We do not opine as to any legal aspect of your charter, or if it's this or if it's that. We just deal in the facts and the analysis of the facts and then help you draft it to the best, what would be best for the city. So I think that's the last. I told you it was going to be very general. So it's very general. And Tony, if there's anything like you say, if you don't remember today, you can certainly funnel it through Tony. Or if you have any other questions, I can't really speak specifically to parts of your charter as to whether it's this or whether it's that, because then I would be giving you my legal opinion. And I gave up that role a long time ago, but I happily gave it up about 4 years ago. So, but if you have any other questions about the structure, I'd be more than happy to answer questions.
Does any member of council have a question regarding the charter presentation?
Yes,
I'll start with Ms. Davis and then that on this side. Ms. Jones after anybody else?
It's very simple.
Yes.
How long do you think it will take for you to get to the point where we have a new charter or a
Uh-huh.
restructured charter?
Okay. I thought it would not take as long, but it's taking a very long time to go through because you don't have the charter on MuniCode. Nobody has start to finish. It's just amendments thrown in. So right now what I'm doing is going through all the Georgia laws and with your original charter, putting that in, and then going through and inserting the amendments so I know where the document stands today. So that's taking a little longer than would normally do with other jurisdictions. Once that's all done, about 6 months? About 6 months at most. Yeah, at most. And I only say that because I am currently working on about 4 different jurisdictions charters. So I have to switch modes in my head and think what's best for you. So yeah, I would think 6 months.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Jones, you had a question, and then Mr.
Yes, I want to ask if you could repeat the first 3 or 4 pages of your presentation. And that's just to ensure that we are all on the same page.
Sure.
Relative to,
Was that about the weak, strong mayor?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
We can go back, shouldn't I? Okay, great. So, like I said, there are 3. It is strong mayor council, weak mayor council, council manager. As I said before, there are 537 cities. There are all different kinds of government throughout Georgia. It's varied. So, you want to hit the clicker? And like I said, also, the most popular is strong mayor across the state, hands down. The 8 consolidated governments are kind of dispersed. The first one to ever come into being was Columbus, Muskogee, and the last one was Macon-Bibb, interestingly enough, which surprised me. I thought they had already been consolidated. Augusta, Richmond is one. Cusseta is one. Eccles County, Webster. Who am I forgetting? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Would you say, in what you've looked at so far, is our mayor strong or weak?
Actually, hold on 1 second. Actually, she still has.
well, yeah, I mean, I'd like her to go and repeat the presentation, just so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Saw it.
So if you, it's not just for you,
Okay.
Ms. Councilwoman Hudson.
Thank you.
It's so that we're all
Yeah.
on the same page.
Yes.
So if you will allow that,
I will
Mayor Pro Tem
respond to
Heath?
you when I'm done.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
with
then
the
you can ask
mayors.
your question. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, next one. Okay, so strong mayor. And a strong mayor is like a CEO. And you will get this presentation, so.
Thank you.
I think Tony will provide it to you, so I don't want you to have to distract yourself with taking pictures. But primary executive role, they make, and like I said, this isn't an exhaustive list. This is just a general list, but usually they make appointments, if they manage daily operations, if they have veto power, if they have power over the budget. I mean, those sort of things would indicate a strong mayor. But like I said, jurisdictions, just because they have some strong mayor qualities or weak mayor qualities, doesn't make them one or the other. You have to look at it as a whole. And a weak mayor council kind of takes a step back from that sort of thing, and the council's more over the day-to-day operations. The budget goes through them. Those powers that we saw under the strong mayor are usually under the council's purview. And this is just a repeat of what I just said about veto power, managing the city government, preparing the budget, making appointments. And I don't mean to put it in a very simple terms, but essentially weak mayors usually, they don't have those powers, and it's more, they are the face of the city. That's generally what it is. Is there another slide after this? And council manager is not your, I don't believe is your form of government. I put this in there for just knowledge purposes. I didn't know if you wanted me to go over that, Ms. Portis-Jones or Councilwoman.
I have a question.
Yes.
Wait,
hold on. I think there was another
Yeah.
one.
It was Whitmore after her.
Right, but Ms. Jones still has the floor. Go ahead, Ms.
Go
Jones.
ahead.
was that the beginning of the presentation?
Yes.
That was the beginning?
Yes.
Yes. So, yes, that's what I wanted you to repeat.
Okay.
For, so that we're all on the same page about that. And then,
And also, I mean, it could go more in depth, and your attorneys could definitely opine as to that. I mean, he can let you know, that's just a general explanation of what it is.
yes, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Mr. Whitmore, Mr. Heath, and then Ms. Hudson.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you,
Where
Mayor.
am I looking? Okay. Hello.
So
I wasn't sure where I was looking.
You're going through a very exhaustive process.
Yes.
I understand that.
Yes,
1925 is a long time ago.
yes, it is.
But I also would like to ask, have you seen any of the other preliminary documentation that was started from the previous administration
Which,
or a
which,
charter change?
what are you speaking of?
So let
I'm
me
not
tell you
sure
what
I
I'm
understand.
speaking of.
Okay,
There should be documentations because the attorney, the previous city attorney, had that, and there was a lot of input that was into that as well. And if you don't have that, you're being held at a disservice because there's some information in there. You just indicated to me that you're going back to 1925. You see a lot of changes in there, but nothing in mini codes, so on and so forth.
it's not in Muni Code, yes, a lot of cities put it in there.
Which is a lot of reading, and as you said,
Yes.
trying to put stuff together, jurisdictional stuff, the whole 9 yards.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this may save you a little bit of time.
Okay,
And it should be in the city administrator's office.
Okay.
Because once we changed attorneys, everything that they did for us was turned over to the current city administrator. So if you don't have that, I would ask that the city administrator and the attorney find it to at least provide you with another small template
okay,
of what has already been discussed and things that we were looking at
okay.
for this charter change. Because it sounds to me like you're starting from scratch,
Shouldn't be.
and that's a disservice.
Okay, well, thank you very much for letting me know. I appreciate that. I'll look for it.
Thank you.
Mr. Heath, Mr. Heath?
Mr. Heath?
Yes, in what you've looked at so far, would our mayor be considered a strong mayor or a weak mayor?
Put your mic.
That is a legal opinion, so that would be, I would leave that up to your attorney
Thank you.
to interpret.
Mr. Attorney?
Don't trust
Speak
nothing.
in the microphone, please.
Go ahead, sir.
Said I've rendered that opinion several times, but I can state it again if you like.
Go ahead, sir.
We are a strong mayor form of government. Section 7 of the charter in particular, mayor has the power of pardon and parole. He has veto power. He appoints all of the top officials with your confirmation. He controls the employment of all the top officials with your confirmation. For example, if the mayor decided he wanted to fire the police chief, the city attorney, the city administrator, he could make that motion. As a body, you could not. Now, you would have to agree with him, but he would have to initiate it. He presides over meetings, he's the CEO. There's a ordinance provision that ceded some of the management of rank and file employees, not top officials. City administrator can't terminate me, city administrator can't terminate the city clerk, can't terminate fire chief. Mayor would have to do that and then submit to you for your approval. But he would have to, that's the charter. And that's a form of government that we are, that would have to be, as she indicated, it has to be changed at the legislative level, not at this level. It doesn't matter to me how old the charter is. I have to interpret it as the city attorney based on what's there. Now, there's some gender stuff, there's some archaic stuff, and I think she indicated as such, and she's making those amendments. As it relates, Mr. Whitmore, to your question, I'm sorry, Council Member Whitmore, as it relates to your question about what the previous city attorney provided, I think she indicated that there were 20 amendments. Some of those came under the previous city attorney, and that information has been provided.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hi,
Go ahead, Ms.
Hello,
Hudson.
I'm
Councilwoman.
so glad to see you here.
Thank you. I don't
you.
always get that kind of warm reception.
In support of what Councilman Whitmore had talked about, the forward work, my focus on coming on council was looking at that provocative language. There's a disconnect with the charter and what's in ordinance as it relates to roles and powers. So when you have a legal opinion, not from you, but from a member of this government that says it's a strong mayor, weak council, yet our powers and responsibilities suggest different in our ordinances, you are here for a purpose. So I look forward, I'm not going to make an exhaustive comment about this, but this charter is a concern for me, which is why I have pushed and advocated for you to be here. And I'll have a problem with speaking up. I did. And thank you for your time. I have done some more research and speaking with our state legislators about the form of government change or what we may perceive in the process moving forward. And I have been assured that they will be working very closely to monitor the process and make sure that we get a fair forward with the review from the state legislators. So I just wanted you to know that going forward, because what Councilman Whitmore brought up is very important. There is other documentation outside of those amendments. And when you look at the ordinances, particularly in administrative area of our ordinances, you can see clear where that will read, not from you, me, as if it is a city manager, city council, city manager form of government, not form of government, but the actions there and the duties, that's where it's confused. So the antiquated language and what I'm concerned about is we don't have chain gangs here. Everyone on this council is not a male. It was just, and it was funny that you said you couldn't find it in Municode. I actually went through a research institute through Walden to pull the charter up for the city because you couldn't find it. So it's an old antiquated document that was not on the web. We had to dig it up, and it came through the archive files here in the state of Georgia. I'm sure you know how to get those files.
Yes, I do.
So I'm very aware, and I read through that, but it's complex. Because where were we and what were we thinking when we changed ordinances and not the charter? Thank you.
Follow up,
Thank you for your,
Yeah, I got a comment and then I'll come back to you, sir. Yeah, I guess my question to you is just so we be real clear, that regardless of what the council decides at this level, in this case, let's say you had recommendation, let's say, I'm just for the sake of argument, you've had two recommendations, you want to change the form of government, you want to change the appointment as it relates to officials. My question to you, just so I be real clear, and being that you're a lawyer, that actually helps what I'm about to ask. And I'm not asking for your legal opinion, but I'm asking, in this case, as a person that's dealt with this legislatively and legally. My question would be to you, if your council were to, not just this council, any council would decide, here's two things I want, and it gets to the state legislature. My question to you is, despite what the council voted to agree, and I'm asking because I don't know, I think I have the answer, but I'd rather hear it from you since we're discussing. My question is, if your legislative body were to turn 180 degrees of what was actually agreed, my question is that enforceable?
if the legislature votes to, no, if they pass that charter,
you-
yes,
if you-
but they
if-
don't have to.
Right, no, my point is, no, if our body were to, if this governing body were to, I'm just gonna use for the sake of argument, we were to decide we were gonna have a change of government form and go from city, strong city manager, strong mayor to even consolidate, whatever. My question would be to you, if it gets up to the legislature in your state level government, in this case officials, disagree with what you as a
Oh, if
governing.
they disagree.
They disagree with the governing body here said.
Yes.
And they decide they want to turn it in 180 degrees, something different. My question is it enforceable? If, I guess in this case, if they will present that to the body in the state legislature.
Correct.
I guess my question would be, I'm trying to confirm, just so for my curiosity, because that was asked of me the last term. And I said, in this case, we've got somebody here talking about it, so that's why I'm asking you.
No, they can completely change it. It would depend on whether or not there's a referendum to the citizens and whether they approved it or disapproved it. But yeah, they can change it completely.
Gotcha.
It's up to them.
That's what I need to know.
I mean,
Mr. Whit-
they'll take your recommendations. I will say generally, they will go with what the local delegation says. And usually the town council or the, whatever form of government it is, will work with them closely.
Okay.
But I have seen it, I drafted a lot of these at the state level too, and I've seen it where, somebody went in and they wanted it some other way and they changed it.
Correct, gotcha.
That's just the nature of the beast.
Mr. Whitmore?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So as my follow-up to what the city attorney stated, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I know that there has been amendments. And I don't know if they happened during the previous administration, because I don't remember it all. But what I do know is that 4 of us that's sitting on this dais right now have had conversations in reference to this charter. And there were some pen and ink changes to get ready for it with recommendations, because at the time, the city of South Fulton was becoming a city. So we went and we looked at various charters, not just the city of South Fulton, but other surrounding cities as well. And we decided, well, what we put in there was things that we needed to look at and consider. So if you do not have that documentation from this administration, this city attorney, I think it would help you with looking at some of the things that the majority of this council has already stated that still sits here today.
Sure.
So if you don't have it, I think it needs to be provided to you.
Okay.
Let me ask
Sure.
a question, Councilmember Whitmore. When we talking 18, 19, 20, what year are you referring to?
4 years ago,
So
4 to 6 years ago.
4 to 6?
So let me ask you a question now.
2018.
2018,
That's all I was trying to think.
okay.
Or 2019.
Were they,
2018?
Approximately.
were they actual amendments, or were they
No,
home rule?
may I?
Actually, he still has the floor, then I'll come back to you. Go ahead, Mr. Whitmore. You
So as I was stating, is information that is in local archives,
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
local archives, meaning at this point, the city attorney's office that was passed on from the previous city attorney. So it's information, and it would be beneficial to review that, because you already started back to 1925.
Yes.
Moving forward. So some of this may be able to be cut down somewhat just by looking at it and preparing for your presentation to the current body. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to share with you.
Okay.
And it was quite obvious, based on your response, that nothing was given to you.
Well, thank you very much for letting me know, and I'll look into that.
Ms. Jones, and then I'll come to Ms. Hudson.
Yes, I want to say I agree with Councilman Whitmore. I was present at the time when we did the review of the charter. It actually was a day-long event, retreat, where we went through the charter in detail. However, I will say that the context was 2018, 2019. We must also evaluate the current context. And not all members of this current body were present in the 2018, 2019. And while I agree that you should review it, I would caution of being guided by it, because the discussion needs to be in the context of the members on the dais today and the context of the environment for which we are operating today. Some of it is the same and some of it is not. So I would just caution you in that regard.
Thank you very much for letting me know.
Thank you.
Ms. Hudson?
I know as a policy expert that you are, you know that artifacts bear some type of historical value and that they don't lend to the final decision on how you will move forward with reading the charter. So I respect the old and the new. Policy is my baby, love it. When you talked about this process with the General Assembly and referendum, I am a big advocate for community input. I think overall, looking at the history of Fairburn's government, how Fairburn government has ran, and the absence of the community voices, I just want to identify in this review process what could be some of the tools that our community could use to have input in the charter. It doesn't have to be something grandiose, doesn't have to be drawn out. Like we have the comp plan, they're having their voice in on that.
Right.
The strategic plan, they're having their voice in on that. We just had the master park, they're having, you know, their input on that. this is a big, big to-do to me, because this is the legacy of leadership that we lead for this community, that this charter would encompass supporting this city's service in this community when we are way gone from here. So I think it's important, because the face of our community has changed since 2018, where we have a much younger population of homeowners here, and who should be invested in knowing and understanding the form of government that serves them and how it would serve them and how their input was added to that. So I just wanted to know, is there any opportunities for that?
Sure, there's always opportunities for you. They could have been here tonight. That's an opportunity. If they had
Gotcha.
looked at the agenda and seen it was chartered, you can always hold public hearings. I mean, there are various ways that it can be done. But I would encourage you, if you think it's important, I mean, as long as it's on the agenda, I assume, I don't know if you have public comment at work sessions, everybody does it differently, but I'm sure you have public comment at your meetings. That probably is limited usually to, I don't know in your case, to the agenda items, so that might not be an opportunity, but you can always hold separate public hearings. I mean, people have done that before.
Thank you.
Anybody over here? Okay, Mr. Whitmore, gonna come back to you and then.
This is another follow-up, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
And again, I believe that in government, when you have 6 elected officials and 1 mayor, we can agree to disagree,
Of course.
right? The only thing that I'm saying to you, I wasn't saying that previous documents needed to guide you. That's not what I said, all right? So just so I'm perfectly clear, I understand that the Carl Vincent Institute is a professional organization, and when you look at everything holistically, from 1925 to 1918, when there were certain things that were put in, it may apply, it may not apply, it may be submitted by you, it may not be submitted by you. But to have information of what was stated, it helps.
Contextually, yes.
So that's the only thing that I was saying, and I just did not want to leave that said the way it was, because that's not what Councilman Whitmore was leaning towards, all right? Now, on the other side of the spectrum, I know you said that it's gonna take probably about 6 months. That'll put you back about October, all
Oh,
right?
yes.
And you're giving yourself some plus or minus, I'm sure, all right?
That's as long as nothing happens that would prevent it, would make it go longer, in which case we would look at it to extend it.
So your deadline to make sure that it gets to the Capitol is, what's that deadline date?
We don't have a deadline set. You will have.
In order for it to go in front of the next session, is what I'm saying.
I don't have a drop dead deadline. That's just a guess of when we will get it to you. But like I said, if something occurs, a lot of times I'm working on these and they bring up something that takes longer than we think it's going to while they.
Mr. Whitmore, if you're willing to yield for a second, are you willing to yield? What I'd like to do, if, in this case, between talking about state representative, in this case, our city staff, I can actually get that confirmation. What is the drop dead date for an item to get to the next? We just had.
That's important.
We just had 2 items to go to get approved this year in the legislature. So we had a cutoff date that we had to adhere to, so.
Yes, it won't even be at the very first start of the next session. It's once the session started, there'll be a drop dead date.
Right.
I'm not sure what that date is.
I'll get
At
that.
this point.
That kind of lend to the question and answer that I was kind of looking for.
Okay.
I didn't know if you had a physical date, but generally, and that did answer my question,
Yes.
so thank you.
It's probably sometime in January, February. It might even be, I don't know when I'd have to look to see when the session's starting and how they've done it in previous years.
Mr. City Manager, you had a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
About this.
Just a point of clarity, as it relates to the previous work that Councilman Whitmore has referenced, I have heard reference to that from our elected officials previously. I did want to provide some clarity in that whatever documents the previous city attorney may have had were turned over, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Starkey, directly to Mr. Starkey's office, city attorney to city attorney. I didn't receive any of those, Mr. Whitmore. I can work And I will work with the clerk's office to see if there's documentation from, I believe I heard a day-long retreat. So I'll do an exhaustive search, but I just wanted to be clear that I had not received any of those documents previously.
And for clarity's sake,
No, go ahead, sir, you can surround it.
and for clarity's sake, I did not insinuate that you
You
did.
did not.
I knew for a fact, or I know for a fact, that it was turned over to the current attorney. So it's nothing from your office. This was all the legal documentation that was being worked on, has been worked on from the time when Mayor Avery was the previous mayor with the same attorney, going through Mayor Hurst as the same attorney until the new attorney came in. So I'm sure he has volumes of information in reference to the city of Fairburn that was turned over. That's the only clarity that I was trying to provide, not leaning or directing comments toward your office. It was directed toward the legal side of the house.
Well, let me respond, since you directing that to me. Volumes of documents were not handed over to me. I've provided information that I have. I'll go back and look. I don't recall anything from 2018 in particular. That's why I asked you the very particular question that I did. But I'll go back and look, and if I miss something, she'll certainly get it in due course. But I submit that I've given everything that was provided to me, and if I miss something, she'll get it. But volumes of documents were never provided to me. It wasn't that kind of a deal.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Jones.
Yeah, so 1819, check 19, yes, as well. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other members of council? Ben, thank you. Thank you so much for your
Thank
presentation.
you so much for letting me present. It was a pleasure meeting you all.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. It's a serious craft, boy.
Okay, we got some.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll adjourn from a workshop. We'll start at 7 o'clock sharp in about 13 minutes.